You know when your workflow just stops? No red flags, no error messages, it just gives up. Well, that used to drive me insane. So I went down a rabbit hole and found 5 ways to make your n8n workflows recover automatically. There's no babysitting required, and by the end of this video, your automations won't just work, they'll bounce back. So in today's video, you'll learn 5 superpowers that make your automations unstoppable. By the end, you'll know how to make every workflow resilient, even under pressure. So let's start with the simplest fix that saves the most pain: retry when failed. Our first screen shows 3 paths. This is so you can see exactly what retry when failed does. So our top node is going to be our working example, and this is going to hit the official joke API. Our middle node is going to be broken, and it's not going to have a retry functionality on it, so you'll see an error out. And finally, our bottom node is going to have the same broken URL, but it's going to have retry enabled. So in our top node, we've got a working example. It's going to hit our official joke API. When I click execute this step, you'll see that there's a setup and a punchline. So how do you make a tissue dance? You put a little boogie on it. And just to show you what the correct URL is, it's random_joke. Remember this because it's important. So in our second node, what I've done is I've actually removed the underscore. So you'll see here that when I execute this, instantly we're going to get an error. APIs fail all the time, not because your workflow is broken, but sometimes because servers get busy. So rate limits kick in or the network hiccups. What we're about to see is retry logic, which gives your workflow a chance to recover automatically instead of stopping dead. It's basically saying, try again for a second, maybe the internet's just having a moment. So in our third example, I've got the same incorrect URL, but this time we're going to go ahead and retry it on fail for 3 times. And in this node, I've set the wait between tries to 1000 milliseconds or 1 second. Now watch what happens when I click on execute step and compare what happens to our last node. So you can see that the node took about 3 seconds before it failed. Now this retry functionality is very useful if you ever hit any rate limits on APIs. So if the API says you can only do GET request once every second, this is the best way to set up your workflow so it doesn't fail. Now in our second example, I'm going to show you the continue on failed with a friendly fallback. So we'll see here we've got a failed get a random joke. It's going to be using a broken URL, and I've got logic afterwards to handle errors. So let's see what happens when I execute this node. You'll see that there's an error and the workflow hasn't continued to our if error check. So what we want is our workflow to be able to continue even if an error occurs, but to handle the error with logic in it. So I'll show you how to do that. You're going to open the failed get a random joke node, click on settings, and then on error, I want you to change it from stop workflow to continue. Now let's execute our workflow again. So you'll see now that our workflow has continued even though there was an error, and our error check handling has been executed, and it's gone down our true branch and set a fallback message, joke API failed, but laughter is still mandatory. This setting is important because it keeps your workflow running smoothly, even when one of the steps fails, turning errors into recoverable moments instead of full stop crashes. Now let's move on to our third example. So you'll see in this example, we've removed the if node check. We actually just have a success and error message directly from our HTTP node request. So why is this better? It's actually more efficient, and we're removing one node from our workflow, making it much more cleaner. So how do we do this? Click into our API random joke node, and this time we'll go to settings, and you can see here on error, rather than just using continue, we're using continue using error output. This gives our n8n workflow the ability to branch off based upon the success message or the error message. So let's see this one in action. We can see that our workflow has gone down the success branch. Now if I just go ahead and change the URL again, I'll just add a random underscore there, and let's execute it once more. And this time it's gone down our error branch. By changing the setting to continue with error, it's made our workflow much cleaner with the ability to handle errors gracefully. So our fourth error handling mechanism is using a Fallback LLM. Sometimes your AI agent will just stop replying, and it's not because your logic is wrong, but because your model that you're using, like OpenAI, has timed out or hit a quota limit. That's where a Fallback LLM comes in. It's like giving your AI agent a backup brain, so that if the first one crashes, the second one jumps in instantly. This is important because it keeps your automations and chatbots reliable. So even when one provider goes down, your users will never notice the difference. So let's look at the setup of this. You'll see on the workflow we have an AI agent with two models connected. It's very easy to set up. All we need to do is open our AI agent and then toggle on the enable fallback model. This gives us the ability to connect two LLMs. So my primary model is the OpenAI chat model, and I'm just using GPT 4.1 mini. And my fallback model is going to be Qwen 3. And you'll see here I've actually used a different provider. I'm going through OpenRouter. So this is just the fallback method. In case OpenAI ever crashes, my AI chatbot is going to continue to run. So let's take a quick look at this. I'm just going to ask the AI agent, what is 1 plus 1? And you'll see it's responded using the OpenAI LLM. But what I'm going to do in this instance is change the credentials so that my credentials are invalid. And let's go and ask it the same question again. And this time, even though our credentials failed using OpenAI, it's gone ahead and used our OpenRouter to answer the user's question. This means your AI agents will never go offline. The fifth and final error handling technique is going to be using a separate workflow that uses an error trigger that is connected to a sender message via Gmail node. We're going to link a production workflow to this by opening its settings and choosing this as the error workflow. So now when that workflow fails, you'll get an email with the workflow name, a direct link to the failed execution, and the error message. So to show it live, I'm going to intentionally break another workflow. Here we've got a scheduled trigger with a broken URL that's going to trigger an error. In this workflow, if we click on the three dots here, we go to settings. You can see that there's an error workflow to notify when this one occurs. Here I've set it to the error handling trigger, which you just previously saw. Please note that our error handling workflow will only be executed when we have an active workflow that is automatically triggering an error. We can't trigger this manually like you previously seen. So in this example, I've got a scheduled trigger, and you'll see here I've set it to run every 15 seconds. Now I'm just going to activate this, and then we'll wait 15 seconds and I'll show you the result. Okay, cool. So you can see that we've run the workflow and there's been an error. Now if I go to my error handler trigger and we look at the executions, here you'll see that the error handler has successfully triggered and sent an email. If I open my email now, I'll see an error alert for the automatic error, a link to the workflow URL, and the error message, the resource you are requesting could not be found. So if I click onto the URL here, that takes me back to the failed execution. This is important because it gives you instant visibility when something breaks in one of your workflows, instead of letting errors pile up unnoticed. By automatically emailing you the workflow name, error message, and direct link to the failure, you can fix the issues fast and keep your automations running smoothly. So now your automations have 5 new superpowers, and they don't just work, they recover your workflows. You can download my full error handling workflow JSON inside my automation vault. And don't forget to subscribe for more n8n tutorials. See you in the next one.